Molweni manene na manene kazi, namkele kile kwinkubo, ngelishwa andizi kubako Orient Theater ngomso, ka ndibuye Jozi, ndafumana COVID, ngoku ndibetere ka Ngxeke, umhlawumbi ninokuva kwilizwi lam, ndibetere ngoku kodwa andipilanga kangango kuba andikahambi nge-aeroplane. But as they say, the show must go on. We have a big tournament at the Orient Theater. Umlo oyintloko uzakuba pakati Landi Ngxeke no mtu wase Philippines Michael Mendoza ka unomla kulomlo yima Ngxeke sikazulule umlo apa. So Friday night at the Orient Theater, I'm sure the iconic venue is going to be rocking. As we all know, it's one of the big venues in South African boxing. How I wish that I could be there with you. But the main bout, we'll see junior bantamweight Landi Ngxeke, the man they call Man Down, engage over 12 rounds against Michael Mendoza for the Philippines. For I believe it's an IBO Intercontinental title in the junior bantamweight division. It's a strong division in South Africa. We've seen, of course, Ricardo Malajika resurrect his career at Empress Palace the other night against another Filipino opponent. And Landi Ngxeke is sort of straight out of a fire into the frying pan, or from the frying pan into the fire. I don't know which way, because his last fight, he suffered his first loss. He got knocked out in the second round by J.R. Rakinal from the Philippines, and he was knocked cold by a left from the southpaw stance, and now he's facing another southpaw Filipino, and he can't afford to lose this one. Now, Michael Mendoza, he's got a record of 12 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws. He's only got 4 knockouts in those 12 wins, so he's not quite a puncher, luckily, that J.R. Rakinal is. So, not quite that big puncher, but another typical unorthodox Filipino fighter. He's a guy that he can have a sort of a step forward jab now and then, but he's not consistent with his jab. He basically leads with power punches. He likes the left from the southpaw stance, just like J.R. Rakinal had. So Landi Ngxeke is going to have to really close that hole, because at the ICC last time, when Rakinal stopped him, that hole was wide open and he nailed him with a southpaw left. So he likes his southpaw left as well, does Mendoza. And he also likes the right hook from the lead stance, and he sets up his power punches. He feints his way in, and he likes that big left. He also likes a right hook, and if he does find pay dirt, if he does connect with his punches, then he flows in with his other punches, and then usually he smothers himself and he goes back to the center of the ring. He likes being in the center of the ring. He's not a workhorse of a very high work rate, and he likes attacking in spurts, and he has got an unorthodox rhythm. Now, for Landi Ngxeke, in order to win, he's going to have to tighten things up. He's going to have to tighten up the shop, close those windows. He's got to keep busy with his jab. He's got to make sure that he gets his lead foot on the outside of Filipino southpaw's foot, because, of course, the left hand's going to come from this direction, so he needs to get over there on his left side, get his lead foot on the outside to neutralize that left hand, and he's got to keep those hands up, because the hooks are also going to be coming. But I think there are 2 ways that makes Mendoza uncomfortable. If you have a powerful jab, you jab him to the chest, jab him to the body, jab him to the head, and you force him to move backwards because of your jab, that will help. And I've noticed that Michael Mendoza is susceptible, especially early in the fight, to long straight punches from the outside, and that's also something that Ngxeke should utilize, those long straight shots. So force him backwards. Alternatively, if he's not able to do that, Landi Ngxeke still got a very good record of 9 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw with 4 knockouts. If he doesn't have a power to make Michael Mendoza go backward, then he's got to keep his own defense tight, circle to his left, away from that southpaw left of Mendoza, circle to his left, and keep the fight at a distance and just box and keep his defense tight and outwork Mendoza, because I suspect that's the trouble that Mendoza has, why he loses some fights. He just sort of gets outworked. He doesn't throw enough punches. So that is a thing for Landi Ngxeke, is to either back him up, or if he can't do that, keep the fight then at a distance and keep away from that southpaw left, keep the defense tight. And also, when I've noticed when Mendoza throws, he often misses his punches and throws himself off balance. Counter him with a left hook, counter him with a right uppercut. Those gaps will be there for Landi Ngxeke. But this time, he's got to stay out of trouble. He's got to keep the defense tight. He's got to keep circling. So who is going to win? I think Landi Ngxeke. It's psychologically very hard to come back from a devastating stoppage loss like he had against Rakinal, so we'll have to see how he deals with it psychologically. I'm sure Mendoza will come out and try to nail him with that southpaw left, and he'll try to put him under pressure to make those ghosts of a previous stoppage loss come up in his head. But I think Landi Ngxeke will be on his P's and Q's. I don't think Michael Mendoza is quite as dangerous as JR Rakinal. It's the right opponent maybe to come back against, and I expect Landi Ngxeke to win this fight on points. Then we've got a stacked undercard in the main supporting bout. Mpumelelo Chabalala defends his South African Junior Flyweight Championship against Ngxeke Tongwana. It's a very evenly matched contest. Tongwana's off a victory of a veteran, Xolisa Magusha. We know Magusha. I think that's very even who wins that fight. I don't really have a horse in the race. I saw Mpumelelo Chabalala at the ICC win a hard-fought decision against a Filipino journeyman, Melvin Manangil. That experience might serve him in good stead, so I'm going to go for Mpumelelo Chabalala to retain his South African Junior Flyweight title against Ngxeke Tongwana, but I might be wrong. It's a really pick-em fight. Then we've got the South African Lightweight Championship. That's an interesting one. We've got the Mexican, or the schoolboy, as he calls himself these days, Lusanda Komanisi. I saw him win the title against Jafiwa Munyai. I had Munyai a slight winner in that fight. Actually, it was a close fight. But Komanisi is an exciting fighter. He comes to fight. He's got power. He likes to attack the body. But he doesn't take it very well. His chin is not the best. You can nail him and you can knock him out. Now, his opponent, Kyle Busakwe, I saw him as well in my last visit to East London there at the ICC. Busakwe scored a knockout of a night, a tremendous one-punch knockout. So Busakwe can take you out with one shot. So he represents a danger to Lusanda Komanisi. But Komanisi is a wily veteran. His experience should prevail. And I think he should get over through this fight, retain his South African lightweight title on points, or maybe stop Busakwe late if he can take him into deep water. But I wouldn't be absolutely shocked if Busakwe can pull off a stunning knockout upset. And then there's another interesting Crossroads fight on the card. That's an 8-round junior lightweight fight. It's between the former South African junior lightweight champion Sibusiso Ngxeke, whom I recently saw train at the Hotbox Gym there in Joburg with Shannon Strydom. You'll see him in the intro. You've just seen him there working on the pads. He's looking sharp. He's coming back from injury. He injured his shoulder in his title defense against Lunga Sitamela and lost his title on TKO. He's looking to bounce back. And so is his opponent, Asanda Ngxeke, who's a former South African featherweight champion. He's moving up in the heavier division. We'll see if he's more suited to a higher division. So it's a crossroads fight for both men. Now, with Asanda Ngxeke, he's a guy that I quite rated. He won the South African title against Abdulaziz Kunert. He's got heavy hands. He's a good technician. He's got good offensive technique. He's a little bit flat-footed, and sometimes as you go up in levels in the sport of boxing, your opponents become more experienced, more wily. And I think Asanda Ngxeke has struggled a bit to get that extra gear at the higher level to add more layers to his game. So he lost his title to Jeff Magagane in his last encounter. Let's see if the added weight will benefit him. Maybe he was killing himself to make featherweight. Let's see how that will make him perform. And let's see if he can add layers to his game, because Sibusiso Ngxeke is one of those fighters with a bit of a spotty record. He's had a few losses, but he learned out of his losses, and he is quite a good fighter. So I think it's also very much a pick-em fight. I'll lean slightly maybe towards Asanda Ngxeke because he's got the home crowd advantage there. I don't know if Sibusiso Ngxeke can knock him out, but I think that will be another cracker of a fight and it will be very competitive. So that's what we have here at the Orient Theatre. Landi Ngxeke coming back against another Filipino, Michael Mendoza, the South African junior flyweight title of Mpumelelo Chabalala against Atenkosi Tongwana, a South African lightweight championship, Lusanda Komanisi against Kaya Busakwe, and then of course the Crossroads fight between former champions Asanda Ngxeke and of course Sibusiso Ngxeke. Some really good fights. We'd expect nothing less from the Orient Theatre and Kaba Promotions. They don't mollycoddle their guys down there. The atmosphere is sure going to be electric. Spare a thought for me, who will be watching on Supersport. I'm sure others of you will also be watching on Supersport. But if you're in East London, get down to the Orient Theatre. I think it's probably the biggest bargain in professional sports. A ticket is like something like 150 Rand or 200 Rand. It's an absolute bargain for the quality of boxing that you see. Hopefully I'll be back in East London soon. Until then, there's Sibonani, Paka Maisani, Izandla. And boy, do I really miss that Orient Theatre.
With the trump colors of black and silver. His weight, 54.75 kilograms, with a professional record that means 13 wins.